Never say die. Never say die. The blackness. Keep on.
And welcome to another episode of Ask the Wiz. I'm your humble host, Dr. Ken the Wiz Reeves, saying thank you so much for joining us doing this, another edition of Ask the Wiz, the radio broadcast. You, my beloved listeners, have ventured inside the classroom without walls. Well, as the student family members, we are going to give P-A-I-D, I mean absolutely, all courtesy of the ancestors and the creator, as yours truly will be revealing positions that are currently, we're talking about today, Tuesday, June the 13th, 2017, generating from 81% profit to over 7,000, that's right, 7,500% profit for you, my beloved Ask the Wiz Wealth Institute family. At a point in time when people checking accounts, saving accounts, money market accounts, CDs, and the like, aren't even paying 3% per year, here we are about to receive double digits and quadruple digit profits, all courtesy of the ancestors and the creator. And also doing this, the first hour of the Ask the Wiz Wealth Institute Classroom Without Walls radio broadcast, yours truly will be revealing noteworthy insider trading activity of the day, followed up with the list of today's top 10 trending stocks. And then yours truly will explain what you should monitor during the Fed chief. We're talking about Janet Yellen's press conference tomorrow. That's on Wednesday, June the 14th, 2017. What should you be listening for as indicators with regards to the U.S. economy? And then yours truly will reveal why there are multiple benefits of a Federal Reserve interest rate hike. That's right. It is anticipated that the Fed will increase the Fed fund rate tomorrow by about 25 basis points. And yours truly is going to show you a proverbial silver lining in the increase of interest rates. And as we roll into the second hour, yours truly will identify why debt-based money corrodes society. And I'm going to indicate how you can create your own personal gold standard. And well, yours truly will also list multiple semiconductor downline stocks that are poised to get you PAID. A lot of people are looking at the big boy semiconductor positions to get them PAID via the tech arena, but no. The clever, the uber wealthy know that it's the downline of the big boy semiconductor companies that will get you PAID first and foremost. So yours truly is going to give you a list of little known downline semiconductor positions that will get you PAID, right, NOW. And then we're going to wrap up the second hour of this Ask the Wiz Wealth Institute Classroom Without Walls radio broadcast, as yours truly will reveal how the Russians actually attempted to orchestrate a U.S. stock market crash. I'm going to break it down to you day by day. I'm going to list names, and I'm going to show you how diabolical, how clever the Russians are, and how they came just so close to causing a U.S. stock market crash. So as you see, family members and listeners alike, we've got quite a bit to do in a brief period of time. As you, me, we, the Ask the Wiz Wealth Institute family and listeners alike, maintain their proper chakra level, stay in the right meridian, and form one mastermind so that we can make Wall Street pay us right here on Main Street. Yes, it is a very busy day today. That's right. We got Attorney General Sessions. He's going to be reporting, or shall we say testifying, on Capitol Hill. I'm talking about so many things going on. We got ongoing Trump drama, His Royal Highness, and the list goes on and on. But you, me, we, the Ask the Wiz Wealth Institute family, we're going to go ahead and give PAID amongst all of this domestic and international chaos. But before we get started, before we make Wall Street pay us right here on Main Street, we would be remiss if we didn't give all praise, honor, and glory to the ancestors and the Creator for this day that allow us to develop the third eye, the eye that could see the invisible, and then concurrently develop the third ear, the ear that could hear the inaudible. This in turn allows us to stay in contact with the Most High and the ancestors through that centralized conduit that is known as spirit. For as both you and I know, without spirit, we are absolutely nothing.
heart and soul, body and mind, but the very essence of our existence is spirit. What is it about the human spirit that produces the courage and the strength to beat insurmountable odds, to survive and endure despite unbelievable circumstances? Our spirit embodies the very essence of our existence. We believe that it has been handed down from generation to generation. Beginning in Africa, the motherland, where for eons, we believe that the Creator heard us when we cried, saw us when we faltered, and helped us along the way. And now, more than ever, it is time for us to get back in touch with the spirit that lives inside us all. Because without it, we are less than whole. But with it, there is nothing we cannot overcome. For the essence of our existence is spirit.
Amen and ashe. Now, for those of you that aren't members of the ASK THE WIZ Wealth Institute family and you want to authenticate these profits, you want to authenticate 7,500% profit and the like, then we beseech you to engage in what is known as interactive radio by simply going to www.yahoofinance.com. That's www.yahoofinance.com from any internet-enabled device. And as yours truly gives out each and every symbol, all you have to do is punch it in and you too can bear witness to the profits that the ancestors and the Creator are bestowing upon the beloved ASK THE WIZ Wealth Institute family. Wealth Institute family members, portfolios open please, for it is now time to get PAID. And now, family members, let's go to work. Let's make the ancestors and the Creator proud as we make Wall Street pay us right here on Main Street. We're talking about an ER play that's paying us in less than 24 hours. It's that Science Applications International Corp. That symbol is SAIC. Once again, SAIC. Now, this particular position is paying us 81.82% profit in less than 24 hours. Once again, 81.82% profit in less than 24 hours. So let us now go ahead and set a close market order on each one of our contracts, issuing challenge stops at 3 to 5% below the set a close index, and we make Wall Street pay us right here on Main Street. Once again, it's that SAIC. Talking about that Science Applications International Corp. Symbol SAIC. Talking about the June $85 put. Underlying stock moved to the downside on the back of negative ER. Catapulting our associated put option to the upside to the tune of 81.82% profit in less than 24 hours. You inside the classroom without walls. Science Applications International, symbol SAIC. Talking about that July $85 put option. 81.82% profit in less than 24 hours. Up next, we're going to break out. Talking about that Coupa Software Inc., symbol COUP. Continue to get PID from a put option. Talking about that June $35 put on that COUP. Took it down at a mere 40 cents per option, or $40 per contract. Today it ran up to $545 per contract. Now you pull out your calculator, you do the math, and you'll see that's 1,264% profit on that COUP. Coming up next. Yeah, we got so much information to give you today in this classroom at Walls Radio broadcast. Need for you to take copious notes, for you will get definitive information that will allow you to get PAID. You are inside the classroom without walls. Those of you that are members of the ASK THE WIZ Institute family that will be in the ASK THE WIZ Institute virtual trading room tomorrow morning. That's from 9:30 until 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's the ASK THE WIZ Institute virtual trading room. That's Wednesday, June the 14th. And now, it's Coupa Software Inc., symbol COUP. That June $35 put option, paying us 1,264% profit at a point in time with people checking accounts, saving accounts, money market accounts, T-bills, CDs, and the like aren't even paying them 3% per year. Here we are about to receive quadruple digit profit. We're talking about 1,264% profit. It's a good thing when you know how to make Wall Street pay you right here on Main Street. So let us all set a close market order on each one of our contracts. Issue insurance up to 3 to 5% below the set of close index to protect against market erosion. On that COUP, talking about that June $35 put option. And let's get PAID. COUP, June $35 put option, 1,264% profit.
Everyone in the world has gone to bed one night or another with fear or pain or loss or disappointment. When they write me down in their history with your bitter twisted lies, when they trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust,
Cooper Software. Super COUP, talking about that June $35 put.
you can shoot me with your word, you can cut me with your lies, you can kill me with your hatefulness. But just like life, alright, you can shoot me with your word, you can cut me with your lies, you can kill me with your hatefulness. But just like life, alright, you can shoot me with your word, you can cut me with your lies, you can kill me with your hatefulness. But just like life, alright, you can shoot me with your word, you can cut me with your lies, you can kill me with your hatefulness. But just like life, alright, you can shoot me with your word, you can cut me with your lies, you can kill me with your hatefulness. But just like life, alright. Does it come as a surprise that I dance? Does it come as a surprise, leaving behind nights of terror? Does it come as a surprise, leaving behind nights of terror and fear? Does it come as a surprise that I dance? Into a daybreak miraculously clear, I rise, bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the hope and the dream of the slave.
Getting PAID prolifically, all courtesy of the ancestors and the creator. We're talking about over 1,000% profit, 1,264% profit to be exact, from that COUP, talking about that Cooper Software Inc., that June $35 put. But now, it's time to take it to a whole new level. We're talking about that Comtech Telecommunications, symbol CMTL. Yesterday, that position paid us $6,275. And today, that position has moved up to paid a 6,275% profit. And today, that position has moved up to 7,500% profit. We took the position down at a mere $5 per contract. And today, it went up to $380 per contract. You do the math. That's 7,500% profit off of a $5 investment. $5 investment that turned out to $380, which is equivalent to 7,500% profit. Let us now set a close market order on at least one of our contracts, issuing trailing stock to 3 to 5% below the settle close index, and we make the ancestors and the creator proud as we get PAID.
There is no progress. Those who profess to favor freedom and yet deprecate and put down agitation are men and women who want crops without plowing up the ground. They want rain without the thunder and lightning. They want the ocean without the awful roar of its many waters. This struggle may be a moral one, or it may be a physical one. But it must be a struggle, because power conceives nothing without not a demand. It never did, and it never will.
Come down from that mountain, Harry. Come down to the valley at night. Come down to your weeping people and be their guiding light. Sing, deep river. Don't you want to cross over today? Sing, deep river. Don't you want to walk on freedom's way? I stole down in the nighttime. I come back in the day. I stole back to Maryland to guide the slaves away. You better run, brave Harriet. There's ransom on your head. You better run, Miss Harriet. They want you live or dead. I've been down in the valleys yonder and searching around the stills. They got a posse after you riding through the hills. They got bloodhounds smelling. They got their guns cocked too. You better run, bold Harriet. The white man's after you. They got $10,000 put on your cold black head. They'll give $10,000. They mad because you fled. I'm Harriet Tubman, people. I'm Harriet the slave. I'm Harriet, free woman, and I'm free beyond my grave.
I come from a slave father, not grandfather, a slave father, born in eastern North Carolina in 1843, escaped from slavery in 1858, a contemporary co-fighter with Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman, John Brown, Sojourner Truth, and William Lloyd Garrison for the freedom not only of the Negro people, but of millions of white workers caught in the same serfdom as their black brothers and sisters. So our brothers and sisters from Mexico, the Philippines, from the lands of Asia, from the West Indies, from Latin America, have come to these shores to share the same fate. And all through our history, the working masses, colored and white, speaking many languages, representatives of the finest of the old and new world cultures, have had to fight every step of the way for a decent wage, for decent homes, for decent education for their children, for human dignity itself.
I want us all in this building to sing, go tell it on the mountain, to let my people go. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain, to let my people go. You can pray until you faint, but if you don't get up and try to do something, God is not going to put it in your lap. And there's no need of running and no need of saying, honey, I'm not going to get in the mess. Because if you were born in America with a black face, you were born in the mess.
And when I listen to Mrs. Hamer, a black woman, could be my mother, my sister, my daughter, describe what they had done to her in Mississippi, I ask myself, how in the world can we ever expect to be respected when we know that we will allow something like that to be done and we do nothing about it?
Something is happening in our world. The masses of people are rising up, and wherever they are assembled today, whether they are in Johannesburg, South Africa, Nairobi, Kenya, Accra, Ghana, New York City, Atlanta, Georgia, Jackson, Mississippi, or Memphis, Tennessee, the cry is always the same: we want to be free.
Amen and ashe. And freedom is not free. We must obtain and maintain our economic liberation. We just got PAID over 7,000% profit. And we are because they were. We're talking about our ancestors and our Creator. And throughout today's radio broadcast, like all of our Classroom Without Walls radio broadcasts, we're going to continue to bring you information that will allow you to obtain the epitome of freedom, that is, your economic liberation. You, me, we, the ATWWI Wealth Institute family and listeners alike, we must continue to rise up.
You're broken down and tired of living life on the merry-go-round, and you can't find a fighter, but I see it in you, so we can walk it out. Move mountains, we can walk it out and move mountains. And I'll rise up, I'll rise like the day. I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,008 times again. And I'll rise up, I'll like the waves. I'll rise up, in spite of the ache. I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,008 times again. The silence is quiet, and it feels like it's getting hard to breathe. And I know you feel like dying, but I promise we would take the world to its feet. Move mountains, bring it to its feet. And I'll rise up, I'll rise like the day. I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. All we need is hope, and for that we have each other, and for that we have each other. And we will rise, we will rise, we will rise. We'll rise. I'll rise up, rise like the day. I'll rise up, in spite of the ache. I will rise 1,000 times again. And we'll rise up, high like the waves. We'll rise up, in spite of the ache. We'll rise up, and we'll do it 1,000 times again.
You may write me down in history.
You may write me down in history
With your bitter, twisted lines.
with your bitter, twisted lie.
You may trod me
You may trod me
in the very dirt.
in the
still like dust.
But still like dust, I'll ride.
I'll ride.
'Cause my fashion man upset you. Why are you beset with blue?
Why are you beset with blue?
'Cause I walk like I'm not all wells. I'm thinking I'm living wrong.
Just like the moon.
Just like sun.
And like suns.
With the certainty of time.
Just like hope. Springing high. Did you want to see me broken?
Did you want to see me broken?
Bowed head and lowered eyes.
Shoulders falling down like teardrops. We can never so
By my soulful cry.
does my heart secrets of failure. Don't you take it off.
Don't take it awful hard. You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness. But still, like life, I'll rise. I rise.
Of history shame. From a past that's rooted in pain. Ghosts are leaving wild. In this world and out there in the tide. Leave me behind that spirit field. To a daybreak that's wondrously clear.
The gift that my ancestors gave. I am the hope and the dream of the slave.
Just like moon, like sun, still arise. Don't you run and keep me down. Come back on.
You inside the classroom without walls. For those who join us for the first time, I want to remind you we do this each Tuesday and Thursday. That's each Tuesday and Thursday from 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's the ASK THE WIZ Wells to Classroom Without Walls radio broadcast. When we come back, we'll go over noteworthy insider trading activity of the day, followed up with the list of today's top 10 trending stocks.
ASK The Wiz Wealth Institute's Classroom Without Walls radio broadcast is to be utilized for information and educational purposes only. Contact your personal financial and or investment advisor for trading and investing advice. Thank you for allowing us to be your community servants. Your money is so vital to you, to your family. Pension funds and 401ks have recently lost trillions of dollars. Massive job losses, rising prices, Wall Street bailouts while Main Street is shut out from the so-called American dream. Companies too big to fail. Hundreds of billions of dollars and hundreds of billions more of taxpayer money for this or for that. What about you? What do you do? You're smart, so you realize making smart decisions is more important than ever. Make a smart decision and become a part of the Ask the Wiz Wealth Institute. Go to askthewiz.info to find out more right now. That's www.askthewiz.info. The Ask the Wiz Wealth Institute was founded and is led by Dr. Kenneth Reeves. Dr. Reeves is the PhD economist, financial engineer, and chief investment strategist that is world-renowned for his tremendous guidance in helping to lead countless people to financial security. and he is known worldwide for telling it like it is in simple terms that everyone can understand. It's your hard-earned money, not theirs. Give it your best. Be a part of the Ask the Wiz Wealth Institute. To research and join, call 404-523-9177 or go to the website at askthewiz.info. That's www.askthewiz.info for only $50 per month. That's right, for only $1.66 per day with no contracts or long-term commitments, you will receive all the benefits of being a member of the Ask the Wiz Wealth Institute. Join now by calling 404-523-9177 or go to the website at www.askthewiz.info. That's the Ask the Wiz Wealth Institute, www.askthewiz.info. The Wiz thanks you for allowing him to be your community servant.
Indeed I do, indeed I do. For it's an honor to serve each and every one of you 24/7, 365. And now let us quickly go and take a look at noteworthy insider trading activity of the day. We had some people who decided that they were going to go ahead and get PAID today by selling off some shares of their own stocks very, very quietly. So let's go ahead and take a look at two of these people today that command our attention. I want to bring your attention first to Reeve Wad, spells his last name W-A-D. Reeve, spelled R-E-E-V-E, Wad, spelled W-A-U-D. Now, he sits on the board of directors of Acadia Healthcare Company, which trades under the symbol ACHC. And earlier today, Reeve decided to get PAID, so he sold off 50,000 shares of his own company stock very quietly at a price point of $45.09 flat, and he made $2,254,350 today. That's Reeve Wad, board of director member of Acadia Healthcare Company, symbol ACHC, making $2,254,350 by selling off 50,000 shares of his own company stock at a price point of $45.09 flat. And then there's Mayo Shatuk, spelled S-H-A-T-T-U-C-K. That's Mayo Shatuk. Now, he sits on the board of directors of Exelon Corporation, symbol EXC. And earlier today, he sold off 465,892 shares of his own company stock at a price point of $36.47 to $38.56. And Mayo Shatuk made $17,015,012 earlier today. That's Mayo Shatuk, board of director member of Exelon Corporation, symbol EXC, making $17,015,012 by selling off 465,892 shares at a price point of $36.47 to $36.56. Now let us move to the top 10 trending stocks for today. We're talking about for Tuesday, June the 13th, 2017. Now, if you are on the Ask the Wiz Wealth Institute tweet list, well, then you received actionable intelligence earlier today upon completion of the appropriate drill down, got your PAID. We're talking about the Ask the Wiz Wealth Institute top 10 trending stocks for today, Tuesday, June the 13th, 2017. Now, if you too would like to receive actionable intelligence each and every day that the U.S. markets are open, that upon completion of the appropriate drill down will get your PAID, then all you have to do is go to our website at www.askthewiz.info. That's www.askthewiz.info. And upon arrival on our homepage, go to the right-hand side of our homepage. You'll see the tweet submitted by yours truly. Simply click on follow us, put in your pertinent information, and each and every day, you too will receive actionable intelligence that upon completion of the appropriate drill down will get your PAID. It's the Ask the Wiz Wealth Institute tweet list. Get on it today. And now let's take a look at the top 10 trending stocks for today, Tuesday, June the 13th, 2017. Number one position held down by Fiat Chrysler, symbol FC. AU. Number two position held down by Under Armour, symbol UAA. Number three position held down by Santander Finance, symbol SAN. Number four position held down by GTX, symbol GTXI. Number five position held down by Turkcell, symbol TKC. Number six position held down by Under Armour CLC. That's Class C stocks, which trades under the symbol UA. Number seven position held down by Abbott Laboratories, symbol ABT. Number eight position held down by Delta Airlines, symbol DAL. Number nine position held down by CenturyLink, symbol CTL. And the number 10 position of today's top 10 trending stocks held down by Office Depot, symbol ODE. ODP. So there you have it, a list of today's top 10 trending stocks we're talking about for today, Tuesday, June the 13th, 2017. Once again, let's go over them very quickly. Fiat Chrysler, symbol FCAU. Under Armour, symbol UAA. Santander Finance, symbol SAN. GTX, symbol GTXI. Turkcell, symbol TKC. Under Armour Class C shares, symbol UA. Abbott Laboratories, symbol ABT. Delta Airlines, symbol DAL. CenturyLink, symbol CTL. And Office Depot, symbol ODP. Well, as you know, tomorrow we have the Fed chairperson, Janet Yellen, who will be testifying up on Capitol Hill. And there's some certain things that we need to be paying attention to that is possibly monetizable. And so at this particular time, yours truly would like to bring some of those items to the forefront such that they will command your attention tomorrow when Fed Chair Janet Yellen speaks on Capitol Hill. Now, the Federal Reserve is almost universally expected to raise interest rates this week. And is that it? No, that is not the end of the story, not even close. Now, after the Fed boosts its benchmark rate by another quarter point, which would be only the fourth such rate hike since the financial crisis a decade ago, there will be plenty to learn from the central bank statement, its accompanying economic projections, and Fed Chief Janet Yellen's news conference tomorrow. So at this particular time, I'd like to present to you a couple of things that you need to watch for. Number one, hints of future rate increases. Now, the economic predictions and projections will include Fed officials' predictions for future rate hikes. Now, their previous forecast called for 3 rate hikes over the course of this particular year, 2017, and each of the following 2 years as well. Now, why is that important? Well, you see, family members and listeners alike, a steeper path of rate hikes means borrowing costs go higher more quickly from everything from mortgages to car loans and credit cards. But it also would mean better saving rates, okay? So if the path forward involves fewer rate hikes, then borrowing costs will indeed remain in check, but so will saving rates as well. The next thing we need to be focusing on and paying attention to as it relates to Chairperson Yellen's speech tomorrow is the fate of the Fed's bursting balance sheet. Now, if you were walking around with a huge wad of money in your pocket, you might feel rich, but you would want to be very careful. You see, the Federal Reserve has a similar problem, if you will, with $4.5 trillion in assets on its hands from buying government bonds and mortgage-backed securities in the wake of the financial crisis and the Great Recession. Now, we're waiting to hear more about how and when the central bank, talking about the Federal Reserve, intends to reduce that massive stash of cash. Now, why is that important? Well, it's important because the Fed wants to avoid fueling rampant inflation by holding on to the assets, okay, but not holding on to them for too long. So they want to avoid fueling rampant inflation by holding on to the assets for a far too long period. Or they don't want to cause financial markets volatilities by dumping the assets too quickly. So that's why we need to see if there's any indication by Janet Yellen as to what the Fed plans on doing with their bursting balance sheet. The next thing we want to look at and listen for tomorrow is what the Federal Reserve's feelings are pertaining to the current administration. We're talking about His Royal Highness Donald Trump's administration. Now, Federal Reserve Board Chair Yellen and her colleagues have previously described, quote, policy uncertainty, end quote, coming from President Donald Trump and the Republican Congress. Now, there's growing concern that lawmakers could fail to raise the federal debt ceiling this year, risking a damaging default. Now, why is that important? Well, the president has talked a good game on boosting economic growth to 3% or higher. But Congress is moving slowly and very slowly on his legislative agenda. And continuing investigations are forcing attention to be placed elsewhere. I bring your attention to the Attorney General, General Sessions, testifying right now on Capitol Hill as I speak. Now, if a tax cut and or infrastructure spending measures don't pass, look for dampening businesses and consumer confidence and possibly fewer interest rate hikes. The next thing we need to pay attention to and listen for in Janet Yellen's speech tomorrow is the Fed's outlook on inflation. Officials at the Federal Reserve keep saying they're confident inflation will rise to their 2% target, but that has yet to occur. Growth is accelerating, but inflation is not. And related to the lack of inflation, well, we'll have wage growth for American workers, which will continue to be subpar compared to past recoveries. Now, why is this important? Well, we'd all like to have more money that we take home from our jobs, right? So the Fed wants to see inflation return to a normal pattern as it attempts to, quote, normalize, end quote, interest rates. For now, rates remain historically low, and so does inflation. The next thing we want to look for or listen to pertaining to Janet Yellen's speech tomorrow is how the rate hike vote amongst the Fed actually came down. If the Fed's official statement on this week's likely rate increase indicates any dissidence, okay, or dissent amongst policymakers, that's a sign of opposing views within the central bank. And let me tell you why that's important. You see, the Federal Reserve isn't completely immune from the political polarization gripping Washington and the rest of the nation. Republicans in Congress would like to restrict the Fed's authority, and President Trump could add new appointees who'd be more likely to challenge Yellen and pass policy decisions. And the next thing, Janet Yellen's tenure. How much longer will she stay as the Fed chairperson? You see, Janet Yellen was nominated by President Barack Obama, and Yellen will continue, okay, to serve until the end of her term, okay, as the head of the nation's central bank. And that end of her term occurs early next year. Now, there's been little said by her or by officials in the Trump administration about whether she'll be reappointed. Some think that that may not be the case. And you better rest assured, there will be some reporter tomorrow who will likely ask her about her tenure moving forward at the Federal Reserve. Now, why is this important? Well, Yellen, as one of the most powerful financial authorities in the world, has presided over a period of continued improvement for the United States economy, and financial markets have also been fostered to a relatively secure state, as interest rates have remained at historically low levels. Now, if she is indeed replaced, there's a risk that the next chair may not be as successful as she has been. Family members, a list of things that we need to be paying attention to and listening for tomorrow during the speech to be given by Fed Chair Janet Yellen. Now, at this point in time, I want to give you some of the silver linings, some of the benefits from an increase in the Fed fund rate and the subsequent increase in interest rates here in the United States. Now, interest rates are indeed going up, and the Federal Reserve the Federal Reserve increased interest rates once in 2015 and then once again last year, and is expected to do so for a third time tomorrow on Wednesday. And it won't be the last increase. You see, the Fed has predicted it will raise rates 3 times this year. Now, sure, the increase means it will cost more to borrow money, but you'll benefit from getting better rates on high-yield certificates of deposit. Now, healthy returns on CDs are only one gain from the Fed's rate-raising campaign. Now, here's how you can take advantage of other positive outcomes from the Federal Reserve's interest rate increase. Now, if you are a saver, low interest rates have brought about the financial equivalent of a long drought to your income. Any improvement, even modest, is welcome and overdue. When savings rates increase, okay, those that put their money in higher interest yielding instruments will benefit. Rising interest rates will benefit elderly Americans on fixed incomes and others who rely on interest income to help cover their living expenses. Now, most broad-based measures of price have indicated inflation has been a virtual no-show in the U.S. in recent years. The central bank's target for inflation is 2%, but it has been falling short of that goal. Now, if the Fed achieves its objective in steering the economy, inflation should remain under control. Now, a positive inflation scenario after a rate increase might include lower prices of imported consumer goods due to a larger and likely higher exchange value of the dollar if our domestic rate increases are not matched by policy tightening in other major economies. And lower prices on imports make this a good time to buy things that are imported into the United States. Now, as a rate boost brings better returns to saving vehicles, senior citizens should enjoy better paydays by putting their money in higher rate money market accounts. Now, higher interest rates on CDs and other financial instruments will particularly help older Americans trying to live on their retirement savings. Now, as the population ages in the coming years, many more Americans will come to appreciate even modest increases in interest income during retirement when they buy certificates of deposits. Now, everybody loves a bargain, right? Okay, I thought you would agree. A strong U.S. dollar has meant significant savings for Americans headed abroad because it gives U.S. travelers more buying power. Now, predicting moves in foreign exchange markets is very, very difficult, but the dollar could strengthen further as the Fed increases interest rates. Now, Fed tightening is likely to mean a somewhat higher dollar, so people traveling to Europe will do well. And if you're traveling this spring or this summer, what you need to do is make sure that you shop for the best airline rates and you go to countries that will accept the U.S. dollar for goods, products, or services so you can take advantage of the stronger dollar. Now, as the Fed continues to raise rates in 2017, higher mortgage rates will indeed follow. So if the prospects of higher mortgage rates compel you to go ahead and purchase a home sooner than later, you won't be alone, and you need to do that. Higher mortgage rates could push buyers off the fence, therefore increasing demand and increasing prices and increasing home equity so that more people can sell their homes as more and more people get in line to buy their homes. But for those of you that are thinking about buying a home, by applying today for a mortgage, your interest rates will be less than interest rates by the end of this year as the Fed continues to increase the Fed fund rate. Just a few of the benefits of an increased Fed fund rate, bringing you information that would allow you to not only obtain, but also maintain your economic liberation. Talking about bringing you out of the darkness and into the light. Talking about giving you sunshine.
What you ought to do, open up your mind and know the sun sunshine. I got sunshine everywhere I go, and I want you to know. I got sunshine when it hurts and when nothing seems to work. I got sunshine. Yeah. Do you see the sunshine? Da 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 da. Y'all got sunshine too?
Indeed we do. You inside the class without walls. I'm your humble servant, Dr. Ken the Wiz Reeves. And now let us go ahead and take a look at something that's very important. Now we're going to get a little bit deep here, but you can handle this. And I want you to pay very, very close attention because I'm going to give you some quotes of some of the greatest capitalists of all time. First, we're going to start out with Lord Nathan Rothschild. And I'm going to speak on why paper money leads to boom and bust cycles, where we see the stock market rise and falls. We see economies rise and fall. And paper money also leads to big government and a debased culture. I'm going to give you a quote from Lord Nathan Rothschild of the famed Rothschild family. And he said, and I quote, "I only know of two men who really understand the true value of gold. An obscure clerk in the basement vault of the Banque de Paris and one of the directors of the Bank of England. But unfortunately, they both disagree." And then J.P. Morgan, the J.P. Morgan once said about gold, "Money is gold, and gold is money, and nothing else." And then Ben Bernanke, former Federal Reserve Chairman, once said, "Nobody really understands gold prices, and I don't pretend to understand." End quote. You see, family members and listeners alike, these quotes illustrate the perennial challenge that investors face in deciding what role gold should play in their portfolios. Few truly understand or overstand how to value gold, and even fewer understand and or overstand that gold is not really an investment. It is considered money. Now, of course, if you want a portfolio that preserves wealth, money is a good place to start, wouldn't you think? Saying gold is not an investment may seem a bit strange, especially since yours truly and many others recommend some gold in your investor's portfolio. To illustrate this point, for instance, you can reach into your purse or wallet and pull out a dollar bill. You think of that dollar as money, but you don't think of it as an investment, do you? Now, an investment has some element of risk and typically has some yield in the form of interest, dividends, or rent. Now, money can be turned into an investment by using it to buy stocks, bonds, or real estate. But as a dollar bill, it is just money. It's a vehicle for stored value. It has no yield and will still be a dollar tomorrow or the same time next year. Now, gold is the same. Technically, it has no yield. An ounce of gold today will be an ounce of gold next year and the year after that as well. It will not mysteriously turn into 2 ounces of gold, and it will not rust or change shape or color. It's just the shiny yellow metal gold. Yet, it is money. Let me explain. You see, it's true that the value of gold may change when measured in dollars. It is also true that the value of gold may change when measured in euros or ounces of gold. But these changes in relative value do not turn these units into investments. They just reflect supply and demand for different forms of money. Now, there isn't a central bank in the world that wants to go back to the gold standard, but that's not the point. The point is whether they will have to. You see, I've spoken with many people who have been employed by the Federal Reserve banks around the United States. And when I've asked them point blank, is there a theoretical limit to the Fed's balance sheet? They all say no. They say there are policy reasons to make it higher or lower, talking about the Fed balance sheets, but there's no limit to the amount of money that the Fed could have the Treasury print. That's scary. Okay? And they're going to say that they know is fundamentally wrong. That's what they say that, and that's when they say that they understand that our currency, the US dollar, and all currencies around the world are indeed fiat currencies. Okay? I also tell people who say we're not on a gold standard that, in a way, believe it or not, we still are. You see, you can put yourself on a personal gold standard just by buying gold. In other words, if you think that the value of paper money will be in some way jeopardized, or confidence in paper money may be lost, one way to protect yourself is buying the shiny yellow metal. And there's nothing stopping you. Okay? Now, many people come back and say, well, wait a minute, what's the point of owning gold? They're just going to confiscate it like Roosevelt did back in 1933. Well, I find that extremely unlikely today. But that isn't true. In 1933, we had just come through 4 years of the Great Depression. And FDR, the President of the United States, was new in office. People talked about the first 100 days, but he closed the banks right after he was sworn in. And he confiscated gold only a few weeks later. And it wasn't as if Elliot Ness was going door to door, breaking into people's houses and taking gold. No, they wanted to get a small number of people who had 400-ounce bars in bank vaults. Okay? And they got those people because they were able to close the banks and use them as intermediaries to confiscate that gold. But now, it's far more dispersed and there's far less trust in the government. Now, if the government tried to confiscate gold today, there would be various forms of resistance. The government knows this, so they wouldn't issue that order because they know it could not be enforced, and it might cause various kinds of civil disobedience or pushback. So, as long as you own gold, okay, you can put yourself on your own gold standard by converting paper money to gold. Now, I recommend that you do that to some extent. Not all in now, but most people, including yours truly, okay, recommend having 10% of your investable assets in gold for the conservative investor and maybe 20% for the aggressive investor, but no more than that, okay? Stop at that percentage. Now, those are pretty high allocations relative to what people have. Most people own no gold. And all the institutions combined have only a limited allocation to gold. So even if you can take the low end of the spectrum, the low end of the range that I just gave you, okay, you're still nowhere near 10%. In fact, institutions could not raise their gold allocations even to a few percent. There's not enough gold in the world to do that at current prices to satisfy that demand. So it's got this huge upside association with it. Besides just physical gold, one would be well advised to consider investing in select gold mining stocks, since these are usually great leveraged, okay, positions to the physical price of gold. They can soar by many multiples of the physical price movement. All right? And it is anticipated that many fortunes will be made in this space over the next several years. Still, central banks don't want to go to a gold standard altogether. But if gold is a barbarous relic, if gold has no role in the monetary system, if gold is a stupid investment, then why do the Chinese and the East Indians keep buying it? Are they stupid? Even with the week's pullback, gold is still up about 12% since Trump was elected. If some scenarios play out, you are going to see the price of gold go up and up and up. And it may go up a lot in a very short period of time. Now, it's not going to go up 10% per year for 7 years and the price doubles. It could have a kind of steady upward movement and then a spike, and then another spike, and then a super spike. The whole thing could happen in a matter of 90 days to 6 months. But when that happens, you're going to have two Americas. You're going to have an America that was not prepared. Paper savings will be totally wiped out. 401ks will be devalued. Pensions, insurance, and annuities will be devalued through inflation. Because remember, it's not just the price of gold going up. Okay? It's like putting a thermometer in a patient, getting a 104-degree temperature reading and blaming the thermometer. No, the thermometer is not to blame. It's just telling you what's going on. Likewise, the price of gold is not an economic object or aim in itself. Okay? It's not an economic objective or aim or object in and of itself. It's a price signal. It tells you, me, we, the ASK THE WIZ Wealth Institute family and listeners alike, what's truly going on in the economy. And gold at the levels I'm talking about would mean that you're now, okay, going into the realm of hyperinflation or something close to it, because nothing happens in isolation. Remember that. Now, deflation seems to have the upper hand right now as I speak. But the monetary system can swing from deflation to inflation rapidly without any intermediate steps. So, at that point, you have to give more credence to the shiny yellow metal. Now, you've crossed the threshold. The minute you think of gold and paper money side by side or having some relationship, you get to these price levels, okay, of a couple of $1,000s an ounce. They're not made up. They're not there to be provocative. They're actually the math. Those are the numbers you get when you simply divide the money supply by the amount of gold in the market. Now, people are going to have to pay attention to that, whether or not they like it or not. And either the Chinese are dopes, for example, which they certainly are not, or people will start to get gold, which they will. Okay? But if there's a run on paper currencies, which is entirely possible, and there's borderline hyperinflation, which is also entirely impossible, there may have to go to a gold standard or a simulation of a gold standard. Not because they want to, but because they find it necessary to calm the markets. Gold is something that you need to consider for inclusion into your portfolio. Okay? But you got to be nimble, you got to be quick, and you got to be intelligent. Okay? You can't just write a game plan today and follow it step by step. That's nonsense. You have to be nimble and you have to be able to adjust. You have to be able to follow the developments both domestically and internationally. And you have to be prepared to change your mind based on the developments, both near and far. Going over exactly how you can make the shiny yellow metal one of your most powerful weapons in your arsenal. And especially in lieu of the fact that we hear that the Federal Reserve is going to increase interest rates, that is music to our ears, for we know how to monetize that occurrence and the effect of that occurrence on both domestic and international markets. Knowing that you're able to obtain and maintain your economic liberation, that lets you know that you're coming up on your time to shine.
I'm going to say shine about 379,000 times in this song. And it's only because I want you to shine. So, shine.
And now, some information that only the uber wealthy are utilizing right now to get PAID. Okay, I need you to get your reference document notebooks open. I need you to take copious notes because yours truly is going to give you some inside information that the uber wealthy are using quite intently to get PAID. Now, as you can see in the media, there's a current battle between Intel and Qualcomm, okay? And we see this battle going on as it relates to the semiconductor industry. And many people think that the best way to make money in the technology arena is by investing in the big boys. We're talking about the Qualcomms and the Intels and the like. But the uber wealthy know that a large amount of the movement in this particular sector has to do with companies inside and outside the tech industry that are preparing for the next iteration of computer-based systems, as well as the massive amount of embedded systems that will be coming to the market. Now listen to me now as we see now what others see eventually. You see, embedded systems simply means equipment that has processing power embedded inside of them, but its main function is not primarily computing. For example, a new car is a machine to move us from one place to another, to move us to and fro. But inside the car, there are tire sensors, temperature sensors, GPS, warning sensors, etc., etc. So, as we see virtual reality and augmented reality changing our world, as we see sensors more and more becoming part of the Internet of Things, okay, and big data, it's time to look for a ground floor opportunity that will get us PAID. Now, the big semiconductor companies aren't the only way to go. No, now is when you look to the downline of the semiconductors, the suppliers to the semiconductor companies. So at this particular time, I'm going to give you 7, count them, 7 downline or supplier to semiconductor companies that will get you PAID. Many of these companies, if not all of them, you probably have never heard of, but the uber wealthy have, and they're getting paid from them. First company I want to give you is Lam Research, spelled L-A-M, Lam Research. Symbol LRCX, write it down, LRCX. Now, Lam Research makes, designs, and rebuilds semiconductor processing systems for companies in the tech and semi sectors. Basically, if a consumer company wants to move into a growing sector like artificial intelligence or AI, it orders equipment from a tech firm. And then that tech firm then orders some of those products from LRCX, talking about Lam Research Corporation. Okay? Now, LRCX is a key player in the semiconductor industry, but it is not a name you would come across in any of the devices it's involved in or help build. Some of its biggest customers are DRAM and NAND memory chip makers. These are the memory chips that make up almost all the memory on portable devices and in smart machines. In just the first quarter of 2017, semi-equipment sales were $13 billion. That's an increase, family, of 58% compared to a year ago quarter. That makes LCRX 50% rise year to date seem almost reasonable. Lam Research Corporation, symbol LRCX. The next semiconductor downline company that will get you PAID, that is little known to the masses, but is very well known to the uber wealthy, is MKS Instruments. That's MKS Instruments. Trades under the symbol MKSI. That's MKSI. Now, MKSI makes the advanced processes involved in making chips and circuit boards and other high-tech modem processors. Because what it does is not easy to explain to your average investor, it has fortunately not been a part of the secular rally in chip stocks. Now, don't get me wrong, it's up 47% year to date, and it's trading just below its 52-week high. But given the massive transformation of demand its clients are experiencing, those are measured gains at this point. Remember, MKSI has been around since the early 1960s, so its client base is enormous, and its reputation is very, very well known. When the chip makers look for equipment, they look to MKSI. Next position I want to give you is Advanced Energy. Advanced Energy, symbol AEIS. Now, Advanced Energy Industries is in the power conversion business. Now, while that may sound pretty simple and rather like a 20th century industry than the 21st century industry, you have to specialize and realize that power is more than alternating and direct current. It's also radio frequency or RF power for mobile communications equipment and plasma gas activity for screen technologies. So it's a critical part of our mobile society, as well as all the glowing screens that are everywhere in our city and in our lives today. Now, AEIS also plays a very important part in the renewable energy industry as well. Power comes from wind and solar as DC and needs to be converted to AC and uploaded to the house or grid at a certain voltage. Guess what? AEIS Products makes all that happen. The company stock is up 57% year to date, and there's still plenty of growth out there for AEIS, Advanced Energy Industries. The next company I want to give you is Nova Measuring. Nova Measuring. Symbol NVMI. Nova Measuring. Now, NVMI is all about metrology, or as its name applies, measuring. When it comes to fabricating chips and boards and wafers, there is nothing more important than making sure the tiniest details are indeed correct. As processors and memory chips become increasingly faster, they necessarily become smaller. And those measurements are now down to nanometers, or 1/1,000,000th of a meter. And the metrology has to be exact every single time for every piece of equipment. Now, it has been reported that the semiconductor industry should hit $364 billion in revenue in 2017. Family members, that's huge business. And NVMI's market cap is about $760 million now. That leaves it plenty of headroom even after its 83% run year to date. Nova Measuring Instruments, symbol NVMI. The next company I want to give you is Axcelis Tech, spelled AXCELIS. Axcelis Tech, symbol ACLS. Now, ACLS provides equipment and services to the global semiconductor manufacturing industry, and it's done so for the past 35 years. Now, one of the most significant themes that has been ever present in component technology is the fact that miniaturization is the never-ending goal, and that remains the case today. If it's faster, smarter, and able to be easily convertible, then that faster technology is often used in smarter mobile phones and equipment that are continually adding more features and more powerful applications. Or if it's creating the realistic virtual and augmented reality experience, you can also utilize services provided by ACLS. So ACLS has one of the few technologies that allow these things to happen. The company is up 60% in the past 3 months. I said up 60% in the last 3 months. And ACLS is just starting its move to the upside. Axcelis Technology, symbol ACLS. The next company I want to give you is Kulik and Sofa. Symbol KLIC. That's Kulik spelled K-U-L-I-C-K-E. That's K-U-L-I-C-K-E. And Sofa spelled S-O-F-F-A. That's S-O-F-F-A. Symbol K-L-I-C. Told you hadn't heard about these companies. Now, KLIC is a key player in the semiconductor manufacturing equipment sector. Now, this is without a doubt one of the biggest make hay while the sun shines market sector out there. That is to say, it's highly cyclical, but considering that caveat, there is a big green light flashing in this particular sector right now, and there's no doubt KLIC will be a major beneficiary. Now, while its current performance is up 35% year to date, seems significant, the fact is semiconductor demand has been in a multi-year slump. So what this performance shows is that the sector is back in growth mode once again. Now, KLIC has put together 2 consecutive impressive quarters, and that means we can expect a multi-year expansion in the sector with KLIC as a big winner. And the next position that I want to give you, and the last position I want to give you, is Camtek. Camtek trades under the symbol C-A-M-T, Camtek. Now, Camtek develops and builds inspection and metrology systems that support the global semiconductor industry. You see, when you build chips, printed circuit boards, and integrated circuits, you are building on incredibly small scales. And just as you would quality inspect cars that roll off the assembly line, you do the exact same things for the brains and muscles inside chipsets and circuit boards. And when the semi industry is hot, it's churning out an even greater amount of this equipment, which means CAMT is selling the equipment and services to support the chip makers. Now, at a mere and very small $186 million market cap, CAMT is a small player in this sector, but it has some unique capabilities that are helping it gain traction. It's a grower on its own, up 70% year to date. I said it's up 70% year to date, but it also is positioning itself as an interesting takeover play from some of its larger rivals. Camtek, symbol C-A-M-T. Family members, we've just submitted to you powerful information that the uber wealthy are utilizing right now. We're talking about semiconductor downline positions that are getting them PAID consistently. Don't do what the herd does, and that is invest in only those companies that are high-profile companies. No, you have to understand that there are supportive companies that make these high-profile companies successful. And as goes the high-profile companies, you best believe the supportive nature of the downline companies will rise as well, providing you with information that would allow you to not only obtain but also maintain your economic liberation. And as we get PAID, we must continue to confirm and attest that we are indeed blessed, and the ancestors and the Creator are blessing you, me, we, the Ask the Wiz Wealth Institute family. You inside the classroom without walls.
God is blessing me right now, right now. The Lord is blessing me right now. You woke me up this morning
You know, right now, the Attorney General of the United States is testifying up on Capitol Hill pertaining to, amongst other things, the Russian involvement in the latest presidential election. But very few people know that the Russians have been, quote unquote, meddling in U.S. affairs for many, many years, and to a very, very high degree. You see, Americans have been obsessed with the idea of Russian espionage for decades, arguably since the arrest of infamous husband and wife duo Julius and Ethel Rosenberg. The pair was accused of passing nuclear secrets. I want to give you some history on that, for those of you that don't know about Julius and Ethel Rosenberg. The pair was accused of passing nuclear secrets to the Soviet Union way back in 1950, and they were ultimately convicted and executed at Sing Sing prison in New York on June 19, 1953. Now, their trial and subsequent death sentences fueled the second Red Scare, which was widespread across America. And there was suspicion that Russian spies were ever lurking everywhere, thanks in large part to Senator John McCarthy, who convinced the public of such. You see, it wasn't until the mid-1990s, after the dissolution of the Soviet Union and the end of the Cold War, that McCarthyism completely died down. But 2 decades later, U.S. government officials issued threats about Russia that could have fit right into the Cold War times. And Uncle Sam warnings snuck below the mainstream media's radar. Let me give you some information that will prove to you that the Cold War has not completely ended. You see, it was back in 2007. Back in 2007, U.S. counterintelligence agencies said Russia espionage was just as much a threat in the millennium as it ever was during the Cold War. That's because America's society had become more and more open, if you will, in the decades since. And the government is more responsive, tolerant, and transparent towards the citizens today than ever before. We may think of Big Brother that way, but compared to Russia's opaque government standards, the United States is very, very open, thus making American citizens and institutions easier to spy upon. You see, in 2015, amid the hustle and bustle of one such unsuspecting institution, the institution that I'm talking about right now is Wall Street. And the U.S. Department of Justice, back in 2015, they ran across something that would prove that the Cold War was still very much in effect to be true. You see, the feds nabbed 3 Russian bankers and charged them each with conspiracy to act and acting as an unregistered agent of a foreign government. In short, they were Russian spies. And these particular spies had one ultimate goal in mind, and that was to completely upend the United States stock market. One of the person's name was Evgeny Berkovov. Evgeny Berkovov. And this person was a Russian native who came to America in 2009. Along with him came Igor Sportsev. Igor Sportsev. Some say Igor, but Igor Sportsev. And he was a Russian trade representative. And there was Viktor Pomnovy. And he was an attaché at the Russian mission to the United Nations. Now, the latter 2 men were diplomats. Berkovov was not. Now, the trio secured jobs at various firms on Wall Street while working as undercover agents, for the Russian Secret Intelligence Agency, which they were reporting to as Russian Secret Intelligence Agency, which was a division of the KGB. Now, around the time of their arrival, U.S. counterintelligence agency arrested 10 Russian sleeper agents on charges that they'd spent years spying on the United States for Russia. Now, each one had assumed false identities, and they used those identities to connect with U.S. government officials and major think tanks. and each was caught actively trying to sneak intelligent briefs about U.S. policies back to Russia. Now, it was through this massive arrest that the FBI and the Department of Justice first learned of Berkoff and the rest of his boys and their plan to upend the U.S. financial markets. Now, naturally, the Fed set about tapping and bugging the three men to decipher their plot. It took 3 long years to piece together the entirety of the Russian spies' sinister scheme. Now, had they been successful, the U.S. as we know it wouldn't be what it is today. Now I want to move you to 2013. In 2013, the feds listened in on a call between Berkoff and one of his diplomatic cohorts as they discussed what an unnamed Russian news organization should ask New York Stock Exchange employees for intelligence gathering purposes. So Berkoff seemed particularly interested in exchange traded funds, or ETFs. And in the United States, at that particular time, ETFs were worth about $1.47 trillion in assets. Okay? Now they're worth about $5 trillion. Okay? So Berkoff's line of inquiry took a suspicious turn. He allegedly wanted to know about, quote, the mechanisms of use for destabilization of the markets, end quote. And this was reported through some research done by the Washington Post. Now, mechanisms of use for market stabilization in modern conditions, okay, his conversation partner repeated back to him on the telephone line, presumably taking notes. And Berkoff corrected him. He said, for destabilization. Then you can ask them what they think about limiting the use of trading robots. Now, the mention of trading robots to destabilize the markets piqued the agent's interest. You see, the United States had only recently become aware of how much damage such technological inventions could cause. Now, let me go into how Russia could induce a stock market crash utilizing robots. Listen to me closely. You see, automated trading systems or trading robots are all over the market and all over the world. Their specific duty through the use of complex algorithms is to buy and sell investments with lightning speed. These transactions are known as high-frequency trades, or HFTs. Now, they are completed not just in a matter of seconds, but in a matter of milliseconds. And when one of those trading robots malfunctions, it can be devastating. For example, on August the 1st, 2013, a mid-sized corporation, company known as Knight Capital, they lost nearly $10 million per minute over the course of 45 minutes because of a robot malfunction. Total losses came to roughly $440 million in under an hour, all because one algorithm misfired. Okay? But in the hands of Berkoff and his boys, misfiring robots, talking about trading robots, aren't just about monetary losses. They would become an issue of national security. I want to bring your attention to how one particular man took down Wall Street with these so-called robots. At 2:32 p.m. on May the 6th, 2010, an unnamed individual thought to be operating at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, or the CME, executed a series of rapid, heavy, bearish trades over the span of 19 minutes. The anonymous broker's trades amounted to 9% of the volume of the S&P E-mini futures contracts, the largest futures market tracking U.S. stock prices. Board members from the CME would later testify to Congress in 2011 that according to their own internal investigation, the trades have been part of a bona fide hedging strategy. Boy, were they wrong. You see, the faceless broker's actions caused prices to plummet in a cascade across the market that particular day. And those falling prices prompted the trade robots to panic and start spitting out sell orders by the thousands per second. And at one point, High-frequency trades traded more than 27,000 contracts in just 14 seconds. I said 27,000 contracts in just 14 seconds. The activity, on top of the anonymous brokers' massive trades, completely overwhelmed the markets. The Dow Jones Industrial Average suffered its largest intraday drop up to that point. I'm talking about the intraday drop from the opening, plunging 998.5 points, nearly 9% that day. The stocks of 8 major companies in the S&P 500 fell to 1%, fell down to, get a load of this, 1 cent per share for a short time, while individual stocks, including Sotheby's and Apple, soared briefly to over $100,000 per share. A sum of $1 trillion in the market value disappeared that afternoon. I said $1 trillion. And while the markets recovered moments later, they still closed largely lower than where they had opened. The panic had a lasting effect on investors who took loads of money out of the U.S. stock market funds in the 17 months that followed, to the tune of $137 billion. It wasn't until 5 years later, after the flash crash on April the 22nd, 2015, that the world learned the anonymous broker responsible for the market mayhem was not a trader at the CME, but a British man named Navdeep Singh Sarao, spelled S-A-R-A-O. That's S-A-R-A-O. Now, Sarao was a simple day trader who used off-market computer software that he manipulated to make those heavy bearish trades. And he did it all from the comfort of his home. All the Russian spies had to do was to take a page from Sarao's playbook. You see, when Berkoff and his co-conspirators were arrested on January 26, 2015, they were not considered by the Department of Justice and FBI to be sleepers. No, in other words, there was evidence of a large, comprehensive Russian espionage program at work on various levels. On February the 6th of this year, 2017, FBI Director James Clapper, at that time he was the director, warned that Russia and China remain the greatest threats to America in seeking data on advanced weapons systems and information on U.S. firms and research institutions that deal with finance. On May the 25th, 2016, Berkoff was sentenced to 30 months in prison in order to pay a $10,000 fine. However, his cohorts in the crime, being diplomats, were granted immunity and sent home. No doubt, they took a lot of useful information home with them. Just gave you names and dates of how close the U.S. stock market was to be hacked and thrown into mass chaos. Family members, cybersecurity positions need to be a part of your portfolio to get you PAID, because this situation with regards to cyber espionage is only going to grow, and we need to monetize it. I want to bring your attention to what we must do, and then I'm going to bring your attention to some case in points of some things that have happened in the past. The universe is fashioned or constructed, if you will, my beloved family members, to cause you, me, we, the ATWWI Wealth Institute, to exert energy to get progress, to exert energy to become successful. We can't lay down. We must indeed get down. And I want to bring your attention to a country that decided when they were knocked down that they were going to get up and get down. When beaten by foreign powers, the Japanese government did not hide behind a great wall like the Chinese. No, they adopted the philosophy: imitate to overtake, and then annihilate. Let me repeat: imitate to overtake, and then annihilate. Now, to accomplish this, the Japanese sent their young and brightest minds to the land of the foreign powers to, quote, steal their fire, end quote, and build a new technology-based society. Family members, we must understand and overstand that concept. Imitate, to overtake, and annihilate. I want to bring your attention to something that was said by John Jacob Astor back in the 1800s. And there's an analogy here that goes beyond the initial statement that I'm about to make, that he made. And I quote, John Jacob Astor died in 1848 at the age of 84. And at the time, he was the richest man in all of America. And he said, you buy in acres and you sell in lots. I repeat, you buy in acres and you sell in lots. You see, when you try, you lie. And when you do, you are indeed true. Let us take what we've just heard and let us monetize this information. For information is not power. The monetization and the utilization of that information is power. So let us stop focusing on his story unless you are focusing on a counterattack, but rather focus on your story, and you will obtain and maintain your economic liberation. Let each of us go out, one and all, and let us do what we need to do to obtain and maintain our economic liberation, knowing that we are indeed safe in the arms of the Most High. Rise up, you kings and queens, you gods and goddesses.
Because the Lord is my shepherd, I have everything I need. He lets me rest in the meadow's grass, yes. And he leads me beside the quiet stream. He restores my failing hand, yes. And he helps me to do what honors him the most. That's why I'm safe. That's why I'm safe. That's why I'm safe. Safe in his arms. When the storms, when the storms of life are
preachers, the rabbis, the priests, pundits, and the professors to believe in the awesome wonder of diversity. It is time for parents to teach young people early on that in diversity there's beauty and there is strength. I note the obvious differences in the human family. Some of us are serious, some thrive on comedy, some declare their lives are lived as true profundity, and others claim they really live the real reality. The variety of our skin tone can confuse, amuse, delight. Brown and pink and beige and purple, tan and blue and white. I've sailed upon the 7 seas and stopped in every land. I've seen the wonders of the world, not yet one common man. I know 10,000 women called Jane and Mary Jane. I've not seen any two who really were the same. Mirror twins are different, although their features jive, and lovers think quite different thoughts while lying side by side. We love and lose in China, we weep on England's moors, we laugh and moan in Guinea, and thrive on Spanish shores. We seek success in Finland, are born and die in Maine. In minor ways we differ, in major we're the same. I note the obvious differences between each sort and type, but we are more alike, my friend, than we are unalike. We are more alike, my friend, than we are unalike. We are more alike, my friend, than we are unalike. Our young must be taught that racial peculiarities do exist, but that beneath the skin, beyond the differing features, and into the true heart of being, fundamentally, we are more alike, my friend, than we are unalike. We all should know that diversity makes for a rich tapestry, that we must understand that all the threads of the tapestry are equal in value, no matter their color, equal in importance, no matter their texture.
You've been inside the classroom without walls. This is your humble servant, Dr. Ken the Wiz Reeves, saying thank you so much for allowing me to be part of your day. This Ask the Wiz Wealth Institute Classroom Without Walls radio broadcast is now dismissed.